Just a second. All right. Welcome everyone to our third quarter HOA board meeting. With us today, we have Jennifer Mahaffey, your Taylor Morrison representative and board president. Stan Trask, who is your elected HOA representative from the community. We also have Felicia Alec, who is our association coordinator here. And I am Takara Thale, your association manager. So we're going to go ahead and pop into our agenda. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me 1 second to get there. All right, let me know when you can see my screen. Give me a thumbs up. Awesome. All right, go ahead and kick it off to Jennifer Mahaffey, your board president, so she can start our agenda.
Thanks, Takara. Like Takara said, I represent Taylor Morrison and your board president. For those of you who I think I see a lot of familiar faces on the call, but for those new faces, um, sorry, there's just weird pop-ups on my screen. Get rid of those. The declarant board has three Taylor Morrison colleagues that sorry, my words are like blah, all over the place. We have three Taylor Morrison colleagues that make up the declarant board. There's two others, Crystal Fletcher and Ben Blanchard, who basically are kind of more like silent partners. And then like we have Stan Trask, our homeowner board representative, who was voted upon in our most recent election. And I will go ahead and formally call the meeting to order today at 4:04. And then, as Tara has on the agenda, we approve our meeting minutes from our previous meeting. So that would be board meeting minutes get approved at board meetings, and like budget ratification meeting minutes will get approved at other budget ratification meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you. And since there's two of us, those will get approved. So all your meeting minutes are posted on your portal. So they're accessible there. So if anyone wants to go back and review and see those, so those will get generated after this meeting and get posted there. So go ahead and mark that off. And then this section is the community discussion, formerly known as public comment. We just kind of zhuzhed it up a little bit with something that's a little bit more community related versus something that's like over the city of Sammamish or something like that. So we already had someone approached us. So it looks like Charlotte Green
Great.
is on the docket for the emergency preparedness group. Is that correct, Cara?
That is correct. So, Charlotte, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, I will stop sharing so that you can present your topic to the community.
Okay, thank you. With all of the new members in our community, I just wanted to review a little bit about what our emergency response team is. We are made up of basically three different factions: the block captains, the CERT team, which is a community emergency response team, and the ham radio folks. We have a lot of new block captains, which is great. And they are going to, their main purpose is to obtain and maintain a record of who lives on their block, which is usually about 14 to 24 houses. They want to know who is going to potentially need help in an emergency and who might have resources we could use. They also keep track of pets. So if there was a pet that was running loose after an emergency, we'd be able to help find its owner. So that's what their main job is. And then to communicate this to the folks who would be able to potentially help with more. So their duty is to report via radio to the CERT team and let them know who may need help. The CERT team is a group of folks who've taken another couple of days training, which covers basic first aid and a few other things. But bottom line, we're all responsible for ourselves for the first potentially up to 2 weeks, potentially longer. And water and food are probably the things that are most important, or most pressing need. So we need to think about how we're going to store that for ourselves. We have block captains now on every block except Oakwood North, which is from addresses 3723 through 3839. So if anyone is on this call and would like to help, would start participating, we would be great it would be great to have you help us out. And also, if you're interested in joining our CERT team, there is going to be a training in September or October by Thurston County, and I'm waiting for from Carrie to get back to me on when exactly that will take place. One other thing that's going on right now is we applied for a grant and we received a grant for $2,000 from the city of Lacey. And this grant it's not HOA sponsored, as indeed our committee is not HOA sponsored, but we have been given permission to take the grant, to have the grant. The HOA board signed off on the grant. And they are able to, I mean, they're okay with us functioning as a committee. The grant is a matching grant, which means we have to come up with $2,000 in either time or monies. And so far, we have actually met our matching hours. We had a meeting last night. We had 38 people come, and we were there for a couple hours. So that is great. We're also in the process of conducting a raffle. So the raffle is of a metal sculpture of a bird that one of our resident artists, Bob Rock, made. It's really kind of cool. Currently, it is posted on a wood plaque. The wood plaque also can be removed if you wanted to mount it on an outdoor fixture of some kind. Um, so that's what we're raffling in order to get money. The tickets will be available from your block captains or the CERT team or from me. And the tickets are $2 a piece or $5 for three of them. The money that we're obtaining from this grant is to buy equipment, and we now have been able to get equipment to all of our current block captains, and we will have enough equipment going forward to just about equip all of our block captains and CERT team, depending on how many members we have through the build out. So if you are interested in learning more about what you can do to prepare yourselves to be independent and comfortable, if we did have an emergency, please contact either me or your block captains, and we'll see what we can do to get you the information that you need. Thank you.
Awesome. Charlotte, I know you covered on this, but there was a question in the chat. And I just want to make sure it gets acknowledged. The question was, what will the grant be used for? So if you could elaborate a little bit more for the community on that, that would be great.
Okay, we're using the grant money to provide equipment for our block captains. Up to this point in time, some of the block captains have bought their own radios, vests, hard hats, clipboards, signs, that kind of stuff. We had a couple of raffles that have helped pay for some of that equipment. We were pretty much close to being out of money. And as we develop and have more and more folks coming around, we're going to need more and more equipment. So we're buying it. The main thing is to get radios for the people going forward so they can communicate with each other and with the incident commander who would be at the villages along with CERT team members so they can deploy people who could help you if you need it within our scope prior to waiting for help from outside of our community. Did that answer your question?
I don't see anything else in the chat. So again, if individuals have additional questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to the emergency preparedness group. They are not an official HOA sponsored chartered committee club, anything like that. So please keep that in mind that Charlotte and her individuals are working feverishly to try to support the community with, out of their own time and energy. So again, please feel free to reach out to Charlotte should you have additional questions. Anything else in the chat or anyone else that wants to unmute themselves and discuss with Charlotte for the 5-minute discussion period?
Okay,
Going
then.
once, going once, going twice.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, again, if anybody, please, if you think of anything that you think of after the fact that you would like to either drop it in the chat, we will make sure to get you in contact with Charlotte to um, Jim, I see your question. We'll get to that in a second. So with Charlotte specifically, emergency preparedness, if you guys think of something, you can either drop it in the chat and I can connect you to Charlotte, or the next meeting announcement will go out to the community when it is scheduled, and you are more than welcome to pop down and chat with them more in depth at that time.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Charlotte, for taking the
Thanks,
time to
Charlotte.
chat with us. All right, well, looking at the agenda, there has been a small adjustment that is going to take place based off of the agenda. We are going to, instead of going directly into homeowner submitted questions, I'm going to give the treasurer's report first and foremost because the homeowner submitted question is very much so directed for the Budget Advisory Council. And so instead of it being me going into those and then being choppy, we're going to try to streamline this a little bit. So in a little slightly different fashion, the next step will be my financial report. So give me 1 second to share my screen with you all yet again. And if you're just now joining us, if you don't mind taking a moment to mute your microphones so that individuals that are also here can hear the reports. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Fantastic. All right, guys. So June financial report. As of June 30th, 2025, the current account balances. Now you will notice that we have another line item on here, which is the operating CD account, since we have transferred the money from the operating account into a CD account, which we'll let the budget advisory speak to that a little bit more. So please keep in mind that that is a new line item. So total operating accounts assets is 822,000, give or take. Checking accounts is just over 135,000. Operating sweep accounts is over 134,000. Operating CD account is 500,000. Other accounts, which is receivables, petty cash, and prepaid insurances, is just under 25,000. The reserve fund is at 481,000 on the higher side, almost to 482. Delinquencies as of June 30th, 2025 was 1,156. Capital contributions is at 19,200. We had 4 homes close in June. Year to date, we are at 81,600 for capital contributions with a total of 17 homes closed to date in 2025. Owner accounts that we have on file, which is closed homes, is 398 as of 7/11/2025. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to the homeowner question, which will be addressed by Bill Pate. Bill, I know I saw you on there. If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Greetings, everyone. Uh, there were questions from a homeowner about the reserve fund, and the board asked me to address them, since that's something the Budget Advisory Committee looks at on a monthly basis. So we'll go through the questions and answers. The first question was, what is the current balance of the HOA reserve fund? Takara just read that, but I'd just like to add, in addition to the 481, almost $482,000 balance, it increases by $11,166 a month through the rest of the year. And basically, the way that works is we determine how much money we need to put in a year according to the reserve study, which I'll talk about in a minute. But we then divide what the amount of that contribution should be, and on a monthly basis, we transfer money from the operating accounts into the reserve count. And when I do the BAC report, you'll see the impact of that. Next question.
Can you see that okay?
So the next question was, how is the reserve fund invested? Are allocations made to fixed income instruments, money market accounts, equities, or other vehicles? Is the investment policy publicly available for review? And is it conditioned on any HOA laws? So to address the first part, reserve funds are divided into three First Citizens bank accounts. As follows. We have a reserve checking account, which is standard operating checking account. We have a reserve sweep account, which is kind of a transitional account between the checking account and the CD account. And we have a reserve CD account where we keep the money, reserve funds that we don't think we're going to need in the next 6 months. because they earn a higher rate of interest in a CD, obviously, than they do in the checking account. We'll cover those returns in just a second in the next question. But to answer the question, is a conditioned by any HOA laws? The answer is absolutely. RCW, which is the Revised Code of Washington, says that an HOA, as an association, is required to obtain a reserve study and establish one or more accounts for deposit of funds for the replacement costs of reserve components. Any reserve account must be income earning account maintained under the direct control of the board, and the board is responsible for administering the reserve account. Just as a side note, it specifies additionally in another code section that the account must be held in a financial institution. So we can't, bury it in the backyard of the village, as it were. All right, next question.
Just a reminder, guys, if you're just joining us, if you can go ahead and mute yourself so that we can hear Bill's presentation perfectly, that'd be super great.
So the next question was, what was the rate of return for the reserve fund in the first half of 2025? So as I mentioned earlier, there are actually three accounts, and the three accounts pay varying rates of interest. The checking account only pays 0.05% annually. The sweep account pays more, 0.22% annually, and the CD account, which is a 6-month CD, pays 3.82% annually. The rates change. The checking and the sweep account may change monthly. The CD account will change in 6 months when it renews. And as I mentioned, the rates are set by First Citizen Bank for they have an institutional HOA account program, and that's where they're invested. Next question. Okay, so question regarding planned use and coverage. What future repairs, replacements, or capital expenditures is the reserve fund expected to cover? Is there a reserve study or long-term capital plan? These are excellent questions, by the way. And the answer to that is basically yes, we have a reserve study pursuant to Washington law. We do an annual reserve study. The 2025 reserve study is 49 pages long and is available in the HOA portal as follows. So if you go to the HOA portal on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll find a tab for documents. Under the Documents tab, if you go to the second page, you'll find an association budget tab, and under that, you'll find reserve studies. You'll see the annual reserve studies there for 2019 to 2025. So basically, the reserve study projects all of the homeowners association assets, what their useful life is, in other words, how long will they last, and what will it cost to replace them. And the tricky bit here is if you have an asset that's going to last 10 years, it projects what it's going to cost to replace it 10 years from now. And that study goes out for the next 30 years. Our reserve fund is considered fully funded for the current year, 2025. If you look at pages 17 through 30 of the study, it'll show you every asset of the HOA that they've identified and its projected replacement cost in the year they project it'll need to be replaced. But anybody reading the study should note that just because something is indicated to be replaced in the reserve study in a certain year, I'm sure the board is not going to replace it just because it's in the study to be replaced that year if it's still working well. Conversely, some stuff may fail earlier than they projected it in the reserve study, and it may have to be replaced earlier. So next slide, please. So this is a picture of the cover of the reserve study. So if you go into the portal and go down to the documents and click on the 2025 study, this is the one that will come up. And they're 25, or excuse me, 48 pages behind this one with all sorts of detail. I highly recommend every homeowner take a look at it and be familiar with it. And the Budget Advisory Committee, we look at it frequently throughout the year. And that is all the answer I have. Hopefully that answered the question.
Thank you so much, Bill. That was extremely helpful. So, with that, keeping with our agenda, we're going to go ahead and call on our next committee, which is shockingly your Budget Advisory Committee Chairperson, Bill Pate. So, thank you, Bill. Welcome back.
You're welcome. I'll
Let me
go
go ahead
ahead
and
and,
give you, do you have capacities or do you need me to give you?
no, I can do it right
Perfect.
here. Okay, so you should be seeing my screen at this point.
Mhm.
And so I thought, since we have a lot of new people on the call this time, we have a lot of new homeowners and some people that maybe haven't sat in on the call before, I'd take a minute to go over what exactly the Budget Advisory Committee is. And the charter of the Budget Advisory Committee is at the direction of the Board of Directors. The committee is dedicated to enhancing and maintaining the financial health of the HOA with recommendations for the board in the development of the annual budget. So we recommend changes or tweaks to the board for the annual budget and for the financials. The current committee is composed of 6 homeowner volunteers. We meet at least monthly to review and discuss the finances of the association and track the budget performance. If you go to the portal, as I was mentioning before, you see the Documents tab on the left. The documents, we have enough folders in there now that it's composed of 2 pages. So down in the bottom right, you have to go down and click the right arrow to get to the second page. Excuse me. There you'll see 2 folders, one folder for association financials and another folder for the association budget. So one of the things that the committee looks at on a monthly basis is we track our cash balances, and Takara gave you in the treasurer's report the current balances for them, but we track them over time. So far this year, you can see the top line is the operating cash balances. They go up and down as we spend money. We take your assessments in, the capital contributions in, and then we pay the association bills. So that line will keep moving. The bottom line is the reserve cash, the reserve accounts that we've talked about. And you can see that line is climbing a little bit as we add $11,000 to it every month. The next thing that we look at very carefully are the expenses of the association. We look at what we're actually spending, which is the green bar on the left, and then we compare that to how much we budgeted. So as you can see so far for the first half of the year, we have spent less than the amount we budgeted. And by approximately $127,000, that looks really good, except that we budget on a linear basis. In other words, we take our annual budget divided by 12, and our expenses are unfortunately not spent linearly. For example, landscaping and water irrigation expenses are highest in the quarter we are just now entering, the third quarter. So we can hope that we'll probably reduce that difference a little bit in the third quarter, and hopefully we won't end up in a situation where the green bar is bigger than the blue bar. But we'll find that out at the next board meeting. We're all waiting to hear that. So another thing I'd like to mention is that the BAC at the first meeting of the month, in the months of August, September, October, November, we invite homeowners to come and sit down and talk to us if they have questions. If they have questions about the reserve funds or they have questions about the financials, We're always happy to answer them. Those dates come out to be August 6th, September 3rd, October 1st, November 5th. We always meet at 2 p.m. in the pavilion. And there will be an email blast sent out later this month to remind you of those meetings and those dates. And that's all that I have.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Bill, for first of all answering our homeowner submitted questions and also for a very informative BAC report. Next
Thank you.
up on our committee reports, we have Kim Smith, Smitty, on behalf of the ACC. So, Smitty, if you are available to unmute yourself and
Yep.
jump on in.
Okay, will do. Thanks to Cara. Hello, everybody. Time for my quarterly. Will somebody please join the committee? Please. We do have people that will be rotating off in October. We do our switch in October of every year. So we have one homeowner who has stepped up to the plate and said he will join. We need a couple of more. Would love some folks from the Loop or up in the Highlands if they're interested. Because remember, this committee is all about protecting the value of our properties in the development. It's great to think that, no one would ever do anything that would hurt it, but you never know. And there are some little things sometimes that can affect property values. I happen to be a transplant out here. I am a Steeler fan from Pennsylvania, and I know for a fact that people wouldn't like it if I wanted to paint my house black and gold. So some rules are necessary, other rules, come about. And what you have to remember is that the committee works with living documents. Our standardizations, our FAQs, those are living documents, and we sometimes change them. For example, we had a couple of requests from new homeowners for things, and so we took a look at them with the committee. And so one of the things you're going to see coming out in a new standardization document probably next month will be, previously we were allowed to put up security film, if you wanted to put a clear film on the inside of your windows to protect against breakage and stuff, that was allowed without an ACC request. But privacy films and UV films required a request. So we took a look at all of it, what those films really do, where they're put up, what kind of things, they might infringe on. And we just looked at it and said, you know what, why do we require an ACC for any of that? And the board agreed with us. So one of the changes will be that going forward, if you need to put up or desire to put up a privacy film because of where your bathroom windows front, or if you would like to put up security films, I haven't heard of a lot of break-ins around here, but you're always free to do that. I know a lot of people do put up the UV films. We get a lot of light this time of year. And I know some people do put them up to protect the wood, to protect your other furnishings from sun damage. So going forward, it will not be required to have an ACC request to do any of those projects, as long as you conform to the steps that are in the standardization document. So I like to emphasize that these things are a living document and they can be changed, and oftentimes are. A second thing I wanted to highlight is something that we in the committee came across because, again, of questions from homeowners. Every year at Christmas, a lot of people put up Christmas lights, and they pay to have them put up and they pay to have them taken back down. And year after year, that can be an expense. So we heard about some products that were essentially permanently installed roofline lights hidden under the eaves, and so that they're not glaringly obvious from the street. So we spoke with the board, and Takara is going to be sending out a survey. Please,
We're actually going to do it during this board call. So if you're ready
really?
for it, I'll
Okay.
deploy it.
Okay. So please think seriously about this, because it's something that could be, it could be an alternative potentially to putting up lights and taking them down every year. It could also be, could we allow people to use them during the non-Christmas season? So for example, if you wanted to celebrate St. Patrick's Day and you wanted to turn your house green for a night, should we allow things like that? Should we allow the lighting of homes for, sporting events? If you're a UW or a WSU alum and you want to have a big party to celebrate the Apple Cup and you want to decorate your home in your alumni colors, you know, again, should we allow that? So we're interested in what if we were to allow something like this, and again, it's an if we were to allow something like this, what kinds of guardrails do you think could be there, should be there? I mean, we certainly don't want the development lit up like a Christmas tree every night. And we don't want it to look like a runway at SeaTac. But is there some way that, you know, we might be interested in allowing this to, again, allow homeowners an alternative to putting them up and taking them down every year, which is a pain, or, you know, and then allowing them to use, personalize their home a little bit more during the year. So again, just think about it. Takara is going to be sending that survey out. We're interested in your feedback, both positive and negative. Again, this hasn't been decided. It's something that we thought about. So unless anybody has any questions, again, asking for new members come October. We have more people rotating off than coming on, but we would love to have some folks join our committee. It really is a lot of fun and it's only one night a month. So thank you.
Thanks, Smitty. And also, everyone, you should see popping up on your Zoom right now the questions that Smitty referred to. We have a couple, just three simple questions that we wanted to gauge everyone's feedback on. So if you don't mind taking another few seconds to answer that, we're going to give it just a few more minutes. So please go in, read the questions, respond, and then we're going to go ahead and move on. So give it about 2 more seconds. All right. And again, if you weren't able to respond to the poll, we will send out in the notes from this meeting the reminder so that if you weren't able to share your feedback, you can do so at that time. So just going to move on to our next, which is
Tara,
yes.
there was actually a question that since someone wanted to know, can we see an example of the lights? It's not that we're not limiting people to a specific type of permanent lights, per se, right, Smitty? It was more of like a style of lights. So I think if you're sending something out to Carl, maybe we could show pictures of what we were looking at and how it would probably blend and integrate with the trim, with the ACC's concept. But I don't want people to get fixated that we're limiting people to a little bit of a specific type of lights. If it would be how it would look on the home, because we don't want people to feel like, well, I have to spend this amount of money for lights. But
And
yeah,
another comment that came in is that the survey is premature. We should have more information and visual examples. We're just trying to get an idea
this
from
is
the
a
people
temperature
that,
gauge.
yeah, just to see if this is something that we should continue to move forward with to send out an official standardization update with, you know, feedback from the community.
Well,
This is literally just a what do we think today?
so Takara, I think someone's saying, can you put it back up? I only got time to read one of the folks here at my house.
Sure.
So I think what I'm sensing is that, Smitty, if you agree, I think we probably need to draft maybe a more formal survey just based upon the temperature here.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more questions, so I think more dialogue needs to be happen before we make a finalization, which is fine. This is why we're doing this. This is why we're
Yes.
taking a temperature, so we know what next steps we need to take.
Sure.
We will
Yeah.
work
I
on putting
think via
together
email would be a little better
Yep,
because
we
then
Okay.
we'll
will.
reach everybody.
Okay, that's fine. Just that's why we do this. It's not, we're not making any decisions right now. It's just how do we, what direction we need to go in next steps. That's perfect. This, yeah, gets us in the right direction.
We
More
will
to
make
come.
sure to get that out for the community. If not this week, then early next week, everyone. So, all right, moving along, I'm going to ask Craig Gable to unmute himself and provide his committee report to the Zoom. If you're there, thought I saw you, Craig.
I am definitely here. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, we are in the thick of the season for landscaping. Kind of our busiest season is April through October, and we're definitely right in the heat of everything. Heat in more senses than just today. I think some things I want to communicate to the broader community is you're seeing mowing happening on a weekly basis. We're asking them to continue to maintain cutting at a 3-inch level. We think that's the best level to allow, from an irrigation standpoint, healthy turf. If you cut it any shorter, especially in hot weather, it becomes a more challenging process. Um, PLM, which is Pacific Landscape Maintenance, our vendor, they pretty active in the community since the last quarterly report. We've had them mow the preserve fire barrier and taking care of that. We can expect as a community, probably within the next 30 days, that they will be mowing the edges, probably 3 feet in along all the pathways throughout the preserve. And all the retention ponds have been mowed, and there's still a study going on. There's a small retention pond adjacent to where the construction trailers are that probably needs to be addressed, and there's some work going on with the vendor relative to being able to address that. Think you're going to see replacement for trees and plantings because of some circumstances with Puget Sound Landscaping, our previous vendor, and some issues in Division 3. We've gotten to a point, I think, with the resolution of those issues, but because we got so far into the growing season, the determination was made that plant replacements and tree replacements would be pushed out into September. We believe September is the best time to do it to allow the greatest chance of survival of the plants and the trees that are going to be replaced. As part of that process, our vendor is going to keep a real close eye when they replace a plant as to what's the irrigation, what's the emitter that's watering that hole, is it appropriate for the plant that we're attempting to put in that hole? And if it isn't and needs to be made some adjustments, they're going to be making those adjustments as part of the process. Going on, I think for Division 4, PLM is now actively maintaining the yards of those homes. There still is another contractor on site that does all the installation work. But once a homeowner has taken possession of their home and then on a go forward basis is being maintained by PLM. The other thing that you might see is Taylor Morrison has engaged PLM to do the maintenance work for Division 5 at the expense of Taylor Morrison, not at the expense of the HOA. And once homes begin to being built and that we get to a quantity of homes built and occupied, then as we've done in the past, we will start a process of a handoff from Taylor Morrison to the HOA. Much like was mentioned by Smitty, our committee is no different than some of the other committees. We have people that are scheduled to roll off towards the end of the calendar year and the beginning of the new year. And we encourage anybody in the community that has interest in the landscape committee. We welcome the opportunity to bring new people on, especially people in newer divisions. So anybody that might have interest in Division 4, we would welcome your participation. If you're interested, please reach out to Takara. And last but not least, just a reminder again, I know these summer months, we tend to get on the trails and use the preserve. But I caution people, please be sensitive to the fact that the trails are there for a reason. We don't want people wandering off the trails to go out into the wildflower and other sensitive undergrowth of the preserve. So be cognizant, be respectful of this unique preserve that we have, but we have to treat it with the utmost of care. And we have some accountability to the county, quite honestly, to do that as an HOA. So that's all I've got, unless there's some questions.
No questions
I'm
in
just
the chat for right now. There's a question about blackberries along the backside of Bothorpe, but I will be working with PLM to identify that before we can move forward.
I
Okay.
was just going to clarify and reiterate what Craig was saying about Division 5. So all the common area street strip landscaping has already been installed as we prepare to go to sale in that area. And so yes, Taylor Morrison will have PLM maintain that area on a separate contract. And then it won't get turned over until we have actual occupied closed homes. I just wanted to clarify that. And that's
Yeah.
kind of the process that we currently already have now. We accept it as an HOA when a home closes. And so there's a turnover process for that. And then we walk it with the landscape committee, with the installer, with TM, and with association management. So that would be Takara and a board member. We do a irrigation head coverage walk as well for those closed homes. So it won't change that process. We'll keep it, but I just want people to be mindful of that. So they just understand that process that, we're very careful and particular about when those costs get rolled over to the HOA. So you're not absorbing anything that should be under the builder's cost. So I just wanted to clarify that and just
So
add more.
question that just came through the chat. It says, please clarify the process of the area between Acer Loop and McAllister Park. Will this be maintained by HOA? We were told that when purchased it would be, but we're not seeing that happen. I'm going to go ahead and speak to that really quick. So if you look at the plat map that has been approved for the association, that tract that is between the homes on Acer Loop as you are turning from Oakwood, those first houses. So I think it starts with lot 405 and it goes down to about lot 380 or so. So please forgive me if that's not correct. That land between Acer or Ovation and McAllister is owned by the association. However, if you look at the plat map, it was never scheduled to be fully manicured. It is hydro-seeded with the wildflower mix in addition to plantings that were delivered by Taylor Morrison. There is also no irrigation up there, so it will be more of a naturescape. So think of as you're driving into the community, when you drive past the wildflower meadow on the right-hand side of, just before Eagledale, that's what that will grow into looking like. But that's also comparing landscaping that has been multiple years old compared to, about a year or so old. So if that doesn't answer your question, please let me know and I can have a more in-depth conversation with you about that outside of this meeting. So,
And for those owners that are questioning, like, well, I don't have a plat map, actually, those documents are also on the portal. So if you're interested in looking at things that have been recorded, so plat maps are going to tell you all the lots, all your areas that are recorded into the association. Those are actually also and always have been on the portal as well. So those are there. That's what Takara is referencing. And so you can reach out to her and she can direct you to find those as well. And I think just to speak to this, I'm not in the sales process, and if there's words that need to be changed during the sales process, I'm absolutely more than happy to have that communication. And actually, we're kind of working through that right now, so we're more aligned and making sure we're all using the same words and communicating on the back end and in the front end. And I think intents are there, but maybe sometimes different words are used. But to that point, it is maintained by the HOA, but I think there's a discrepancy maybe in the level of maintenance that's required for specific areas. And so there's different levels of installation of landscaping. And to Takara's point, this will eventually grow into something that looks very lovely and full as it did in Division 1 versus what it kind of looks like right now in the early stages of hydro seeding. And then eventually those plantings will grow that are planting there and that grass will fill in. And it kind of almost turns into almost a sod because that's kind of what happened in Eagledale Court, right off of the main entrance by the monument sign. There was an area that is adjacent to the retention pond access point that was kind of very natural, and we just let it hydro seed and we let it filled in, and because the homeowners in the area wanted it to look a little bit better, and we let it grow in, and it turned into like a lawn area. So it will improve, but I think there are varying levels of installation and there are varying levels of HOA maintenance. So not everything will be manicured or installed at the same level. So I hope that helps a little bit too. If there are specific things that sales is communicating, that would be something that you can direct either directly to sales or you can direct to me and I can have those conversations because I do want to know that so we can make sure that we're all aligned communicating the same thing.
All right, and I understand that there are some more questions revolving around Division 4 landscaping. We're going to go ahead and push those to the end when we have our homeowner forum, so we can go ahead and address those questions. But moving on with the agenda, I'm going to call on our communications committee, which I believe Kathleen Poole is representing today. So Kathleen, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and present your committee's report.
Sure. I'm pinch hitting for Miriam because her mother passed away recently and she's attending to all that. So our committee has been basically active around the newsletter, which this one that just came out, we're very proud of because it just seemed to capture kind of a summertime vibe. But one of the other reasons we were really pleased with it was there were so many homeowners that contributed articles and ideas, and it really represented a nice mix of views, I think. So keep that coming. If you're interested and have an idea, we're happy to have you submit that, and we send out deadlines and all that later. It comes out every 2 months, so next month we'll be sending that out. But at any rate, thank you to those who did send them in. It was a great newsletter. Um, Along the lines of the newsletter, we've also been working on an analysis um, for the addition of advertising, which has been an idea that's been floated around in the newsletter. And we did a pretty thorough cost analysis that we've shared with the board. And the board is, it's under review right now with the board. And I think they will be proceeding as they want to or see fit going forward. Um, but it was an interesting task to do, and it's got a lot of good information. So, more about that later. And then the last thing that we've really been working on is updating the rules on the Facebook page because they needed to be modified a little as we've grown and learned a little more about what's appropriate and what isn't. We reorganize those paragraphs to hopefully make that clear for folks about what the purpose of the page is and what would be a good thing to contribute and what you might just want to save for your own personal page. And also with Facebook, we have continued to try and be vigilant about hackers. We still continue to get 2 or 3 a week, sometimes 5 a week, sometimes 4 in a day by the same person that wants us to let them join our Facebook page. And we double reference that with the address as well as the homeowner through the directory. And it's very rare. I don't think we've ever had this be true, but it could be that someone will say, I am so and so's daughter, and I want to be on the page. And when we investigate that, they either don't have a daughter or they don't have a daughter that has any interest at all in being on the Facebook page. So we try to dig around and get to the bottom of that. But at any rate, there's still a fair amount of activity in that regard. But otherwise, we have a great group, and I would echo what other people have said. We're always happy to welcome others. Um, if you have an interest in communication or writing for the newsletter or ideas about how we could really make that more robust, we'd be happy to hear them and happy to have you join us. So I think that's all.
Amazing. Thank you so much,
Thank
Kathleen. We really
you.
appreciate you stepping up to the plate for Miriam.
Sure.
All right, guys. Well, our last committee report for the day is going to be our amenities committee. And I have both Belle and Andrew, who are co-chairs, listed Russian roulette of who's going to be the one to present. So, amenities committee, this is your moment.
This is Andrew, and Belle may not be able to join us. She's traveling, so she asked me to go ahead and take the list. Um, in our most recent meeting, we have gotten very close to our final recommendations on replacement chairs and replacement carpet for the pavilion area that the board charged us to research and to bring some options to them. We're just getting some final fabric samples to turn in with our recommendation and an additional optional bid on carpet. And those should be ready in the committee next week at our meeting to finalize and send on to the board. Um, once that project is done, the committee is going to turn its efforts to updating the pavilion binder, which is the information notebook kept at the pavilion, both for regular homeowner use, but also for special events and private events, so that people know what is expected and how to handle different problems. We have already started to address the issue of unlocked doors in the patio area. That is an ongoing problem where one of us will go by in the evening and find that the patio doors have not been secured following an event. And we realize that it's a pretty complicated locking mechanism. And so we're developing both signage as well as directions to go in the notebook to address that better. We're also going to be addressing problems that have surfaced relating to recycling and garbage separation. Those seem to be getting mixed up, and as a result, everything ends up in the garbage. So we're going to be developing some signage and sections in the notebook for that as well, and also updating the electronic information in the notebook that talks about how to connect with the television set there if you have a PowerPoint presentation to do for your club or something like that. So that'll be the next thing we get into most significantly. As a committee, we've also received some really positive feedback about the new Zumba instructor and the class that's been started, and that's always good to hear. And then finally, just prior to just at the beginning of our last meeting last week, we had a resignation from a committee member that was effective immediately. And so as a board, we'll be looking at how to recruit an additional member to join that committee. And that brings you up to date.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Andrew, for presenting on behalf of the Amenities Committee. Let me just make sure there's nothing in the chat. There is not. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again and jump into the rest of my manager's report. So give me a second. And if you don't mind giving me a thumbs up when you can see my screen. Awesome. Okay, guys. So jumping back into the management report. So I don't know if all of you are aware of this, but back at the beginning of June, we had a semi that was far too large attempting to take our roundabout right in front of us and Lake Forest across the way, and they did do some damage. So I am currently working with Thurston County to file a claim with them to have them cover the costs. The cost was minimal. It was about $500 for some plant materials and a sprinkler head. Those repairs have taken place, but I will be working with Thurston County for them to reimburse those costs. So hopefully we'll bring that roundabout fund to a close here very shortly. Next, we're going to talk about our irrigation and our Pacific landscape update. So PLM has been working on the irrigation repairs, and as many of you guys have noticed, we did have some sections that were being left on longer than anticipated. we did find this year a substantial amount of debris in the Division One irrigation system, which we're not exactly sure if it's possibly due to the construction that was happening on Marvin, but that did slow down our repairs quite a bit as we worked to try to get that debris out because it was causing some issues with the valves retracting and the diaphragm closing on its own. So we kind of had that as an issue we were working through. We also went in and updated the Flow IQ cards, which helps monitor the times and the durations of watering so that we can really dial that in and have that be the most beneficial to the association. Next, they will be going in and doing the Division 2 and 3 upgrades to the IQ cards. So we'll see that and we'll be able to utilize that to our benefit. Just something to kind of to piggyback on that with. Oftentimes, we will get a lot of calls after hours or on the weekends about irrigation that has been left on for a substantial amount of time. And as much as we always appreciate those calls, unless you're seeing pooling or flooding, we ask that you do not call the after hours emergency because that is a cost to the association. And yes, I understand that water running for a substantial amount of time is also a cost, but our rate with the city of Lacey is just over $7 per 1,000 gallons of water. And again, by no means do I want anyone to be wasting any sort of water or any money, but we also do get charged for when Nova is called for the after hours emergency line when it is not an actual emergency, and also when PLM has to come in on their unscheduled days and times to turn off water. So again, we are always thankful for people letting us know when they see an irrigation that is not responding the way that we anticipate it to. But please be mindful of calling PLM or after hours emergencies unless it is pooling or flooding. It's something that, doesn't need an immediate response to. So again, we hope that we're getting that wrapped up here and we don't see that happening anymore. Those IQ cards are really helping with us identify those sections of the irrigation that might be problematic. So we are getting closer to that. And again, we appreciate everyone's help in the community, helping us identify those locations so that we can correct them during the business week. So with that, moving on to the village's pool, spa, and patio. So we have heard a lot of feedback from individuals that the village's pool and patio spa deck, there is quite a bit of dead plant material. We are working to resolve the irrigation system. The emitters were not strong enough for what was planted. That has been resolved. So what we will be doing is filling those planters with annuals to get us through the summer, and then we will be replacing it with something more substantial in the fall when we do our plant replacement for the rest of the community when the plant materials actually have the highest rate of survival and in turn costing the least amount of cost to the association. So though that is on our radar, we hope to have that wrapped up, if not by the end of this week, then early next week. So again, thank you to everyone that has pointed that out. It is something that we do now have the irrigation up and running, so we will be replacing those plantings so that it creates a wonderful spot for you guys to enjoy your beautiful spa patio deck for hot tubbing or sunbathing, whatever, reading a book, who knows, whatever, however you want to live your lives. Next, we're going to talk about the toilets up here at the villages. So we have currently 3 toilets up at the villages between the banquet hall and the fitness center that are still very much so under warranty, but are 100% starting to fail. So I have been working closely with the installer and the manufacturer to work to have those toilets worked on and, if necessary, replaced at no cost to the association. I will admit that the timeline is not going as quickly as I would like for it to, but that is usually the way that it happens when you're working with warranty work. But I just received notification before this meeting that the installer will be on site on Friday morning, so potentially as early as 6 a.m. So there will be a note on the women's locker room door letting you know that there might be males in the locker room. So keep that in mind. And hopefully we will have those issues resolved by Friday mid-afternoon, barring any unforeseen circumstances. So thank you everyone for your patience as we worked through that. But the goal is definitely to look at the long-term effect of making sure that we keep that warranty intact so that should these three toilets continue to have issues, we're not replacing them or calling in a plumber repeatedly at an expense to the association. So again, thank you everyone so much for your patience as we went through that. Really hope to have it wrapped up no later than Friday, if not early next week. So thank you again. Next, we're just going to go through a couple quick reminders for all homeowners and the board. Please take care and make sure that you guys are cleaning up when using the villages and the pavilion amenities. We want everyone to come here and enjoy every amenity as if it is an extension of their home. But with that, we want you to also treat it as if it is an extension of your home and make sure that things are getting put back the way that you found them, so that the next person coming in doesn't have to struggle to try to find something. Make sure that you're taking care of your dishes and making sure that you guys are just generally cleaning up after yourselves. We want to make sure that the beauty of this amenity, specifically the villages, because it is still so new, is maintained, but also with the pavilion. We have a lot of clubs and gatherings that happen down there, that please keep in mind that when you utilize an amenity, it is your responsibility to clean up. Yes, we do have cleaners that come in 3 days a week to the pavilion and 5 days a week to the villages, but that is doing janitorial service. That is not necessarily cleaning up and putting everything back together the way that we want it to be show ready for as we continue to show this community to potential buyers that are interested in joining Ovation and Oak Tree. So again, it takes a village to keep a village clean. So if you guys can help us with that, we would greatly appreciate it. As a reminder, pets should always be on a leash when you're in common areas, and owners must clean up after their pets and keep them off of neighboring yards. I have heard quite a few comments from homeowners about other homeowners allowing their animals to use their lawns for their business. So please be mindful of that, guys, and be respectful of the neighbors that you have, and keeping your pets off of their lawns, please, and thank you. Same goes with the preserve. If you have your pets in the preserve, they must be on a leash at all times, and you must clean up after them. Please help us keep the naturescaping looking extra beautiful. Next, we're going to talk about the difference between association management and property management. So Nova, the management company that is the management company for the association, who I work for, is a portfolio style management company. So with that, yes, you guys do see us here on site in the pavilion and in the villages, but our roles and duty is the focus of running the association at the discretion of the board and in conjunction with the committees. We don't do things within your guys' backyards or homes. So please keep that in mind. If you are under warranty with Taylor Morrison, you should be reaching out to Taylor Morrison's warranty, not the association. That's not something that we can help you with. And also just kind of be mindful of the fact that we are here to service the community as a whole. So as much as we understand that homeowners may have something that's happening in their immediate timeline that they would like us to address, sometimes there's other issues that are coming up as well that unfortunately might take precedence because of the urgency. So we work our best to make sure that we can get everything wrapped up for the community in a timely manner, but sometimes that isn't necessarily at the same timeline in which homeowners hope to see things done. So just kind of give us some grace as we continue to grow. We are doing the best that we can in our 8 hours of sometimes more days that we are here. And again, we're always looking for opportunities to continue to grow and develop within the community as well. So if you have positive feedback that you think would be beneficial of how you think we could be doing things a little bit differently, I'm always all ears. There's no such thing as a bad idea. It's just the logistics of whether or not we can execute it. So keep that in mind.
Tara,
Yes.
can I piggyback here? Just
Yes,
for
please.
some people who haven't been with the community since day one. When we started Oak Tree, we did start with association management because we've had a lot of really good conversations in leading up to the board meeting. We always meet with our committees, and we've had a lot of really good dialogue and some conversations with each committee. And some of this came up. And we've got a lot of really good ideas and feedback and comments, good and bad. So that's to Tara's point. We like to hear it, and it doesn't mean just because we can't implement it now doesn't mean we can't implement it later. Or it all of it has merit on some level, and we'll take it into consideration. I just think sometimes the consideration taken isn't always immediately seen or shown, but it is heard. But to that point, we always started with an association manager, and she grew to be on site a couple of days a week, and then we hit COVID, and then we went to all working remotely. And then as we went back on to being on site, we eventually evolved to where we tried to hire a general manager, and due to varying factors, it just didn't work out. So about a year ago, when we transitioned back and Takara eventually morphed into this position back at association manager, we're kind of back where we started with a true association manager. And we are lucky to have on-site presence. Not a lot of associations have on-site presence. And partially why we're making this distinction, because it is setting some expectations that is also kind of, as it will get brought up later, sort of influence some interactions between staff and homeowners. And I think probably even homeowners themselves on some level, but we aren't property management. And I think that's a word that gets misused a lot. We're association portfolio management. So, we are having the benefit of having on-site staff, on-site management. And I'm also bringing this up because I'm going to plant a seed for when you do get to the point at 75% closed, you will transition to a fully homeowner run board. And that may mean changes, because your changes probably will be most likely budget driven, less service based driven, but more budget based driven. And then that makes sense. And I get that. So we bring this up because our goal is to get you to be most successful for transition. So what makes sense maybe to some right here in the now may not make sense in the future. So that's always in the back of our mind, is how do you get set up successfully for the future? And association portfolio management is the norm. And if you switch to a different management company, because I'm just going to be frank about it, the likelihood of having an on-site presence is not high. So, and that's okay. I'm being upfront and transparent about, how the future may look. And so we're always constantly looking at those variables. So we're just going to kind of keep educating. So you might hear it more and more at board meetings, more and more in communication. And part of those conversations that we'll speak to later, we've got a lot of really great ideas of how we can interact with homeowners at an earlier stage to kind of help with this transition. With this distinguishing of what our services are and the expectations of what Takara is going to talk about next, about office hours and when we're on site, and what our staff does. So thanks, Takara.
Perfect. Thank you, Jennifer, for adding that. So with that, I will be starting office hours the 29th, which is a Tuesday. We will start at this stage with Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to noon. That homeowners can pop in at any time during that, and I will be widely available to answer questions, take feedback, address concerns. If necessary, we will increase that to include a more consistent, maybe every week I have them on different dates and times. But with that, you are still able to schedule a specific appointment with me. If you want to shoot me an email or reach out to Felicia, we can get you scheduled during those office hours, or you are more than welcome to pop down to the villages and ask me questions. Ask me specific questions about your accounts, and you will have my utmost dedication of time and attention. So an e-blast will be going out about that here shortly, I believe in the next week. So keep that on your radar. But again, you're always still welcome to email me. Your timeline of my response might just not be as quick as people have been used to as the community continues to grow and develop. So please be patient with us as we adjust to that transition. Next, we're going to talk about HOA staffing. So I will introduce Adrian here in just a second, but we are now officially fully staffed with 3 staff members. You have myself as your association manager. I am here Monday through Friday, typically from about 9 a.m. to about 5 p.m. Sometimes that's earlier, sometimes that's later, depending on vendors that I have coming on site or other meetings that I have scheduled. So that is the typical time that you can find me at the villages. If you come during those times and I'm not available, I might be out in the community doing a site visit. I might be meeting with a homeowner. I also might be meeting with a vendor. So if you come during those times and I am not available, please reach out to me, shoot me an email, let me know. I'm very good about responding to my correspondence. So if you need to have time with me, I will always make that available when it suits. Next, we have Felicia, who some of you may or may not know. Felicia has been with us since about November. She is our association coordinator. She helps with a lot of the administrative work on the backside. She helps keep the ACCs moving. She's a catch-all for a lot of different things that help the association run smoothly and effectively. Felicia is a part-time employee. She is only here Sunday through Wednesday, typically, again, subject to change. And she works from about 10 a.m. to about 4 p.m. part-time, as I mentioned, based off of her schedule, since she is still a full-time student. Additionally, we recently hired Adrian, which I will introduce Adrian formally here in just a moment. But Adrian is our new lifestyle coordinator. She has been with us for just over a month now. So we've been giving her the opportunity to really get her feet underneath her and get acclimated to what has already been going on within the community so that we're not recreating the wheel. She is now officially in her schedule, which will be Tuesday through Saturday barring lifestyle events that change that schedule, but she'll be working typically about 10:30 to about 6:30, again, depending on schedule for lifestyle. So you will see representation of staff on site 7 days a week. However, the amenities are not staffed 24 hours, 7 days a week. So please be mindful of that distinction. Yes, we are here during those times, but none of us really have specific locations. We are all kind of moving and shaking. Some days you'll find me in the office. Some days you'll find me at the lobby front desk. Some days you'll find me down at the pavilion. So if you're looking for me, please reach out. Let me know. I'll make myself available to you. But expecting to find us in one specific location every single day is unrealistic. So enough of that. Last but not least, we're going to jump into the lifestyle update. So I would like to take the moment to formally introduce everyone on the call to Adrian, our new lifestyle coordinator. So Adrian, if you are still with us, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and give yourself a quick introduction.
I'm still here. Can you guys see me?
We can hear you.
Well, pleasure to meet you guys. My name is Adrienne. As Takara said, I've been here for about a month, and I'm really excited to bring some great activities to the community. And if there's anything that you can think of that you'd like to see in the community, like Takara said, no idea is a bad idea. It's just a matter of working out the logistics. So feel free to approach me and let me know what kind of things you'd like to see more of. And we can work that in and see if we can work up the logistics and get that rocking and rolling.
Hey, Adrian, it's Jennifer. I don't know if your camera's it looks like it's facing the outlet at the front desk.
Let me see.
I don't know. There we are.
There's an Adrian.
Can you see me?
Yes.
I was like,
This
the
is what I
outlet
look
looks
like.
really good.
I wasn't going to interrupt you. I was just going to enjoy the moment. So everyone, this is Adrian, not the outlet on the back side of the desk.
It's okay. There was a question in the chat, and I don't know if you saw it, and you might not be able to answer it right now, but I just wanted to read it. It said, any update on line dancing? So
Line dancing.
That is
Go ahead.
something we are still working on.
okay.
Yep. Okay, so thank you, Adrian. We're going to go ahead and keep moving on because I always try to be very mindful of how long these meetings last. So I'm trying not to get long-winded on you guys. All right, next we have, and I know this is a little bit more shorter notice than the last one, but Techno Gym will be on site on July 22nd doing not personal training. I have to specify that very clearly. It is not personal training, but they will be going through each of the machines in the Villages Fitness Center and explaining how they work and how to utilize them. If you are interested in attending, we're asking that people RSVP so that we can keep the groups very small so that the instructors that come in can answer those questions individually. You can reach out to any staff member and we'll get you guys scheduled in. They're going to be happening every hour on the hour from 9 to 5 minus a lunch break. So lots of opportunities to get everyone in there. We just want to make sure that we're not overfilling any one of capacity. So again, interested, please reach out to us. Next, we are throwing around the idea of a community garage sale in August. Nothing has been set in stone, nothing is definitive. We will be sending out a survey to the community to gauge the response. If you're interested, if you have concerns, please share them with us at that time because we do want to make sure that whatever decision we make is based off of the majority of the community and that whatever we do decide, if that is going forward with a garage sale, is at the best interest of the community as a whole, whether people are participating or not. So with that, please take a moment. It won't be long. I think it's maybe 6 questions long. It's very short and sweet, but this is how we gauge your guys's interest in all of that fun stuff. And then last but not least, we are working on our end of summer celebration that will take place up at the Villages. We are looking tentatively as of right now for September 13th. Again, that date is possibly flexible depending on our vendors. But just so everyone is aware, we are diligently working on putting together super fun. Adrian will be running point on that one. So I think that's all I have for management report. That was a lot, guys. Sorry. Thanks for staying with me.
Oh,
Sorry, guys.
whew. Well, I have a quick, there's something in the chat that you should see too.
Okay.
I have a quick, just Taylor Morrison update. She's English today. It is a land development update, and it's mainly pertaining to what is going to be known as Division 6. So that's going to be the next area after Division 5. That is the area that is kind of adjacent to the power lines train area. So they're currently about 60 to 70% complete with land development. So that means like earthwork, all, getting in curbs, roads, all that, utilities, that kind of stuff. They're anticipating doing the paving in early October, and that kind of completes that final stage for that area. And then, so you'll see how it's going to be mapped out and how it'll look. And then they'll kind of halt for a couple months because then they have to do like plat recordings and kind of get all those documents in place. And then we're anticipating to start construction, vertical construction, sometime in January of 2026. So that's kind of the current land development update. In Division 5 for sales, I think they're just now releasing some more of the homes in Division 5. Prospective buyers do, I think, have the opportunity to pick a lot and then there's options online. I'm not going to speak to this in specifics because I haven't gone on the site and looked at it. I'm not a buyer. So if you really want to know, you could probably go on there and do some shopping yourself. But I know that we're starting to release some units, but not a lot. So there might be some little activity over there for sales in Div 5, but we're still currently working on selling and constructing Div 4. So we don't want to lose sight of that. Sales have slowed down a little bit. I think that's also what we're seeing on all of our sites. We're seeing in our South Washington, Oregon division, as well as up here. And other national builders are also seeing the same thing. Some sites have recently ticked back up. Oak Tree, I think, has gotten some decent traffic, just not the same rate of conversion of sales, but we're still maintaining our about 4 to 5 deliveries. I think on the call today, I heard the sales agents say that they have quite a few closings coming up. We do have a rash of a bulk of closings coming up, so that'll be good. We're still somewhat on target. I think we budgeted and estimated about 60 closed homes for this year because we recently had this conversation with the BAC. And we're still about on target right now. If everything goes to plan, we're about 55 to 58. So, things can switch if traffic goes up and we get more interest, we'll obviously construct more, but it's kind of, the rate of construction is based upon the rate of, sales. We unfortunately lost a recent sale due to a contingency. So that means someone couldn't sell their home. So there are some conditions like that, which are a little unfortunate, but it's kind of a reality of the market right now. But we just had a broker open event for Oak Tree specific that Jeff Telvik hosted for some agents today. So we're hoping that garnered some interest and some traction. Still a lot of positive outreach. So, they're optimistic that we can keep going. Oak Tree's always been a pretty solid performer. So we're just, I think there was just a couple of rough months with just the general overall climate for a lot of people. So I think that's where we're at right now in terms of development. So everything's pretty much status quo. Nothing new and different. I think the McAllister traffic calming, I know a couple of Oak Tree homeowners were present for the McAllister. They happened to find out and they popped up to the McAllister Park. They had a open house sort of thing discussing how that Oakwood will punch through McAllister Park. So we're going to start working on some of that traffic calming that is associated with McAllister Park. I don't have an opening yet of when that will open, but I will definitely, when I have a date, let the community know so you can anticipate when Oakwood will eventually connect through to McAllister Park, because that probably will have a little bit of a change of traffic pattern for a while. So more to come on that, but that is actively finally moving through. So that's all I have.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, moving on through the agenda. We are at new business. Next is the ACC committee has updated their charter. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show their updates. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Mhm.
Perfect. All right. So board, this is for you.
I will motion to approve. Dan?
Oh, he's muted.
There
Stan,
we
do you
go.
mind?
Yeah.
I'm
There we
muted
go.
now. There I am. I'm sorry. Was there a
I
question?
said I motion to approve the charter.
Oh, no, motion to approve. Thank you.
All right, guys, we will get this updated charter onto the portal documents page after this meeting. Next, we are going to jump over to, sorry, let me get back. The next update is we have updated our rules and regulations. So just so everyone is very clear about this process, we will present these updated rules and regulations from the governing documents today officially in this board meeting. Nothing will take place for at least 30 days as homeowners have the opportunity to provide feedback to this document. This document will be sent out tomorrow in the recap of our board meeting. So starting tomorrow, 30 days to provide feedback to these updates. From that 30 days, regardless if we take adaptions from the community or not, the updated rules and regulations will go into effect. So just so everyone is very clear, again, we will be sending out this document to the community, so you'll have time to read through it. We have updated sections, Article 3, which is in regards to exterior conditions, 5 in regards to insurance, 7 in regards to parking and vehicles, as well as increasing the assessment late fee from $15 to $20. The reason why we are making these updates and edits is the original document was well over 10 years old, and the community has grown at a pace and based off of feedback that we've received from community members, that there was rules within our document that just were not in line with the way that the community was growing. And also for some of the topics within insurance and parking and vehicles, there was bullet points in there that are not enforceable by the association. So we weren't even in line with Thurston County or state of Washington's which would have superseded us, RCWs or laws. So again, this document, it's about 17 pages, I want to say. No, maybe it's 7 pages. I'm sorry. 7 pages that will be sent out to the community tomorrow with the recap of this meeting. Again, you have 30 days to respond with suggestions or requests for information. And then after 30 days, it will be formally adopted by the board and the new rules and regulations will go into effect. So that is coming up here shortly. Next, we'll talk about our board candidate election. So as you all know, we have a vacancy for a seat for the board. Thank you to Steve Bay again for serving his community for 4 years. We totally understand why he didn't want to hang out with us for 4 more years through the entire build out phase. But we do need to fill we would like to fill that seat. Now, under declarant control, the declarant does not have to go that way, but we really, really, really want to see somebody get in the board from the community. That election is scheduled for September 23rd. We pushed it to the end of summer so that people weren't trying to juggle their summer activities, grandkids, family joining, family reunions. So September 23rd. So if you are interested in serving on your board of directors and learning about what it takes to be on the board, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Stan has office hours tomorrow at the pavilion. So if you have questions specifically, you would like to go down and chat with him, you are more than welcome to. We really would love to see our homeowners get involved. And then the
We're
last,
also,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just want to chime in real quick. We're also going to be doing, we did it, we didn't get a lot of turnout, but I still think we're going to do it again. We'll do another informative session about what it means to be a board member representative on a declarant board, how decisions are made. We had a lot of really good questions by some homeowners that actually were very consistent participants for board meetings and actually had a lot of good questions, and they said it was very helpful. So we'll do that again. So I think it allows people, even if you don't want to be on the board per se, it gives people an opportunity to ask those questions and get an insight and get a little peek in there and have more visibility. So everyone gets a better understanding of how your association business is managed and how it all looks. So we'll be doing that again as well. Not just, you can ask Stan since he's a board representative in his office hours, but we will be providing another opportunity as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Jennifer, for piggybacking on that. All right, guys, the last thing we have on our agenda for today, I'm going to turn it over to Stan, is community interactions, and then after that, we will open up the homeowner forum. So, Stan, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Takara. As Takara just mentioned, I've been asked to talk about, just for a quick minute here, about community interactions. And as I think everybody's probably aware, Ovation continues to grow and evolve daily, and we welcome new neighbors to the neighborhood every month. With that comes inevitable questions and topics that require collective discussions and problem solving. The board's been having discussions on communications between the board, staff, committees, and homeowners. And following some time to reflect on those discussions, I'd like to share some thoughts with you. In looking at this issue, first I can tell you that the board and committee members are required to review and sign a code of conduct that states we will always conduct our affairs with honesty, integrity, fairness, and respect for others. Open, respectful two-way communications are not only our goal, but will ultimately help achieve our common goals for the community. We should celebrate unique perspectives, opinions, and experiences, and encourage an open dialogue where everyone can share their thoughts and opinions and respond with politeness, kindness, and understanding. And I think I would also say that it's understandable that certain situations may cause frustrations. We all get frustrated at times. However, when we're frustrated, please remember that we can control how we respond. We all need to show mutual respect and treat people the way you would like to be treated. By fostering respectful and professional two-way conversations, we'll not only achieve our goals, but make Ovation a better place to live and work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stan. Okay, guys, I see a question in the chat that says, I have heard that the connection to McAllister will only be for emergencies. Is that true? Unfortunately, no.
I
That
don't
is
think that's the
our
case, but I felt like there's a roundabout there and it's supposed to punch all the way through, but I will look into that because I don't want to misspeak. And honestly, I haven't looked into it in a while. So I will look into that and I'll get a more definitive answer that we can add to the email e-blast after the meeting.
Okay. So with that, thank you, Stan, again for taking the time to go over community interactions. That is the end of our agenda for today. So we will go ahead and open up the either the chat or unmute yourself and speak up your question, comments about today's topics in the homeowner forum. So,
Cara,
hello.
hi. Uh, I'd like to offer a comment if I could, please, and I'm speaking on behalf of not only my wife and I, Sherry and I, we live on 2508 Acer Loop Southeast on Lot 402 in Division 4, but I'm speaking on behalf of a number of my neighbors, I think some of whom are on this particular meeting tonight. We have a really strong complaint about the lack of landscaping on the hill north of the east-west Acer Loop beginning at Oakwood Street. What we actually have up there, contrary to the comments that were made earlier in the meeting, what we actually have up there is a dried up hard scrabble weed patch with some planted conifer trees and a few bushes. There's frankly no landscaping equal to that professionally created and maintained in any other division in Ovation. And ironically, as was referred to, ironically, the same hill north of Division 5 is professionally landscaped and maintained, albeit I understand by Taylor Morrison at the present time. We up here believe that this hill north of Acer Loop is not only an eyesore, it's a fire hazard should any of the users on the trail on the top of the hill flip a cigarette into the out of control weeds and dried grasses. We pay the same HOA dues as everyone else in Ovation. Yet we alone, for some reason, suffer from an unequal and we believe unfair lack of landscaping on our hill. To refer to this landscaping as a natural approach is, we believe, simply an empty justification for doing nothing. I would like to invite the board, other community members, or whoever to do a site visit to the North Hill, and I respectfully request that our hill be professionally landscaped and maintained in at least the same manner as the hill north of Division 5. Thank you for considering these comments, and I and my neighbors are simply more than happy to show you what we've really got up here instead of what many of you, I think we have. Thanks.
So Jim, I'll tackle this. So I'm not going to have a definitive answer for you right now, for you and your neighbors that are on this call. So I think, unfortunately, there's anger directed at the HOA, and the HOA is the recipient of this. I think really the anger is directed probably at Taylor Morrison, because they're the ones who got landscape plans from a landscape architect, whether or not you want to believe it or not. But they're the ones who did the install. So it's a conversation that I'm more than happy to bridge a gap with. I can't guarantee that anything will change, but I will go ahead and work with individuals. I will have conversations. I will work with Takara, but it's really not an HOA conversation in this regard. I really think it's more of a builder installer frustration that you're having. So I will work with Takara on identifying those areas, and I will look at the Div 5 hill that you're referring to and see what is going on there. Each division was designed a little bit differently, but that's not a definitive answer either. I'm not trying to make excuses, but we will look at it. And then I will go to the land development team and have that conversation, because they're ultimately the ones that are going to make that decision along with the division president. But I'm more than happy to advocate on behalf of the HOA.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
There's a comment in the chat just for the transcript. It says, perhaps we could get an irrigation installer to give the HOA a firm estimate on how much it would cost to install, annually maintain, and annual gallons of usage cost, and then put it to a vote or budget item for ratification. So just so that is regarded.
That's an option too.
Yep. So thank you for that comment. Again, thank you, Jim, for taking the time to express your concerns and your division's concerns. We appreciate that. Moving on for opportunity for anyone else to put anything regarding or into the chat or unmute yourself and speak up. Any questions, comments? Awesome stories or jokes? No, nothing.
We should do that. We should, I mean, I
Well,
like it.
I don't know
We
if
should
anyone wants
have
to
a-
make this joke,
I know, I don't-
this meeting any longer, but in the future, maybe we need to close it with a hearty joke. So
With a dad joke or something, like a hearty punchline. Submitted,
Yes.
pre-submitted, drawn.
Pre-submitted, pre-approved. Anyone? No?
Well, if you don't think of it now, obviously you can always send it to Takara and we can always get it addressed at a later date.
Oh,
we have
great
We
comment.
do have
Yep.
something. Great comment.
Says we would like to
Thanks.
say thank you for the great newsletter we get. Thank you. And that is 100% you community members and also the communications committee. So that is Pat the community, tell a community member that's writing in it. Thank you for all that. Uh-oh.
Oh, we do have a joke. I'll
Wait.
read it.
Okay.
It said a horse walked into a bar and the barkeep said, "Why the long face?"
That's good.
Thanks,
That's good.
Smitty.
All right. Again, I don't want to prolong this, but I also don't want to cut anybody else off. So, any other
Yeah.
comments, questions? If for some reason at the end of this you did not get a chance to speak up and you thought of it, as Jennifer mentioned, you are more than welcome to reach out to me or come see me during my office hours starting July 29th on a Tuesday. Okay?
Thank
All
you,
right.
everyone. Stay cool.
Are you going to formally
Stay
adjourn
hydrated.
us?
Yes, I will. 5:37.
Perfect. Thank you guys, everyone, so much. And we appreciate seeing all your faces.
Thank you, everybody.
Stay
Thank you.
cool.